Okay, is there a motion to open item number 11?
Wait. If we're going to open the old business items, the 11 Anthony Drive, 4 Trumper Road, I mean, it really has to be done by public hearing all that. Properly. So I would suggest, why don't we put those over so we can properly notice them, but let's actually review 11 and 12, instead of Anthony Drive.
All I'm going to tell you, Council, is that those particular homeowners were informed repeatedly by the municipality that they were put on for old business to clean up a paperwork error, I just point that out to you because you should be fully aware of the circumstances, and
but
I value your counsel.
How are you going to address the modifications you want overridden? You're going to ask for a motion on that?
I have prepared in writing. I'm simply conveying to you what.
I got you, but I guess no one consulted with me. That really should be
between you and the mayor.
Okay. Just let it ride. Listen, the risk is to the applicant.
I hear you.
If there's a challenge to any reapproval, and there's some defect in the public notice, and someone wants to challenge it, I'm not going to say what a court may decide, but you choose to go forward, you wish to go forward.
Well, we're here, and we're here scheduled for, I'm here to transact the business for which I'm scheduled.
All right, so let's do 11 Anthony Drive first. This is the old business, reapproval, sorry? 118, 119. So do we have your submission on that? Did you fall asleep for a second?
Nope. Here.
If you're going to
Awake is awake could be.
you have to open all of them and continue them if you're going to.
Yeah, no, we'll go back to those. The three of them there, or we can do it now.
Whatever the board wishes to do.
Aren't you representing all of these?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, but if you want to, well, I think what Brian is saying is he'd like you folks to decide 11 Anthony Drive and 4 Trumper Road, because those are old applications that were approved, but because their county GML letter had come after the motion, the vote to approve,
that's what happened.
there was a clerical mishap, what have you. So now we have the GML letter, and Mr. Ryan is asking, Mr. Carbon is asking that you reopen the decision and address the GML letter from the county, and he's also asking you to override some modifications or disapprovals, I assume.
So motion for 11 Anthony.
11 Anthony Drive to reopen the public hearing of 11 Anthony Drive, Marie Antoine.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, take it all open, pass it down. Better give me and GML, what do you have?
Yeah. You need the underlying GML, or you can correspond?
Oh, yeah.
I have both.
You got references, just give me one. For myself.
So the matter was, Ryan Carbon, the applicant, was subject to GML review allegedly because of impacts on the town of Ramapo and on the Pascack Brook. I would note that the GML itself does not find any impacts on the town of Ramapo and does not find any impacts on the Pascack Brook. Nonetheless, the GML proceeds to opine on quite a number of items. We have no objections to item 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, and 15.
I'm sorry, 12?
12, 13, 14, and 15.
Okay.
With respect to, and we don't believe there's anything in the GML that would provide a basis for the board to change its application of the balancing test. None of the factors there, in our view, based on the record in the previous proceeding, would alter the analysis that the board engaged in or really permitted to come to a different conclusion given the findings that it made. However, notwithstanding that, with respect to comments 1 and 2, we request an override because this is a permitted use in the zone, and the variance is requested as relief granted on similar and adjoining properties. We've also demonstrated sufficient on-site parking, zero net runoff, adequate public water and sewer, and agreed to pay any sewer impact fee. So we believe those comments should be overridden because they address impacts that are not sustained by the record. With respect to comment 8, there was a typographical error in the bulk table that has been corrected. So therefore, we would ask that that be overridden. With respect to comment 9, we defer to the Spring Valley Building Inspector's calculation of FAR. With respect to item 10, that again goes to this issue of where we've located the parking in the side yards, which has been the preference over the past few years of the Spring Valley Zoning Board of Appeals. And with respect to comments 11, there's a question about the height of the building, and we confirm that this height of the building will not exceed 30 feet, and therefore, pursuant to the New York State Fire Code, an aerial apparatus road would not be required.
Okay, and we're referencing the Rockland County Department of Planning, GML letter dated February 2nd, 2018, and Mr. Carbon's response to that February 2 GML letter dated February 19, 2018. Mr. Carbon is asking for overrides of, as you heard, 3 through 7.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No.
I correct myself. Overrides of 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, and I think that's it.
That's correct.
Motion to override?
Second? Second?
Do you have this?
We made the motion to override, and was seconded by Pat.
And also add to that, the decision will be amended, if you can find it, Lori. I don't know if you're able to.
Well,
The decision that was granted a few months ago will be amended to include the County GML's letter of February 2nd, 2018.
Override.
No, the conditions will be modifications numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And you're overriding by motion 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's it. Based upon the correspondence of Mr. Carbon, I assume is your basis of your override dated February 19, 2018. And his testimony that you heard just now. Is that your motion?
Yes.
I make motion, yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Call the roll? Call the roll?
Okay. We'll start with Eli.
Yes, to override?
Okay. Okay, Member Bannon.
Yes, to override?
Okay. Member George.
Yes, to override?
Member Colvin.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. And Chairman.
Yes, to override.
Okay.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this is other old business item, 4 Trumper Road.
Which one?
Do you have the county GML one?
Well, I don't have I have my response.
Do you have the 4 Trumper?
Yeah, I do.
Lori, do you have a copy I can
Yes, I do.
mark up?
I do.
They did already. No, you do not.
Maybe I think you say
Well,
to amend the previous.
yeah, I think I said, yeah, to amend the previous decision. So you're amending the previous decision to add the conditions of the county planning.
I know, I just put that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I said earlier. The motion is you're amending the previous decision for 11 Anthony Drive, Marie Antoine, so as to include the, I don't have the date of it, the GML letter that I referenced earlier. You're including as conditions those modifications that the applicant indicated would be acceptable.
Dated February 2nd, 2018.
February 2nd, 2018, so you're amending the previous approval decision. So therefore, by amending it, it's, you're reaffirming it, but you're amending it means that it still
The variances are granted.
still exists,
We are complying with most of the items in the GML letter and certain items
other
not.
than those that we indicated you're overriding. If I have it want to give it back to me, I'll recite it. But you're amending the previous decision to reflect the overrides of the county planning GML letter that you're modifying, you're overriding certain modifications, and the applicant is accepting other modifications, which will be conditions to the previous decision, which you're amending. That's the motion.
All in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay. Next item.
4 Trumper Road. This is Joseph and Sarah Luger. I don't have the GML. Actually, it might be in this pile of stuff. Yeah, I have it. Yeah. Next one. There is a county GML letter dated January 26, 2018. It's 2 pages, signed by 3 pages, sorry, signed by Douglas J. Schutz, Acting Commissioner of Planning. It is a disapproval with 15 comments, and Mr. Carvin has submitted a response to the January 26, 2018 County Planning Department GML letter dated February 19, 2018. Do you want to summarize it?
Oh, yeah, most of the comments are fine and well placed, and we will comply. We'll comply with comments 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 12, 14, and 15. Obviously, we are asking.
Sorry, Ryan. It
Sure.
was in that. No, it's not in this pile. It was in your stack at the 6 hours ago when you first came in. No, you don't have the GML though. Oh, you need Ryan's letter? Yeah, take one and pass it down. And here are the plans. You need plans?
So again, there are no changes since the variances were first approved by the board. Yes. And we don't believe there's anything in any of the information being accepted into the record that would give the board a legal basis to render a different outcome based on the balancing test previously applied and the variances previously granted. Notwithstanding the foregoing, we welcome the opportunity to have the GML placed into the record along with our response thereto. We object to the disapproval and in comments comments 7 and 13. Because the property is no longer located in the flood zone, these are properties which everybody knows, based on the FEMA map in that area, have come out as a result of the Pascack Brook improvements. We've dealt with that many times over the course.
I thought you were accepting 7. You're not? Which ones are you accepting again in the county? Comments?
I think I gave you my copy.
I can just read off your letter.
All right, so
All right, so.
I have here that we're not seeking override of
3 through 7.
Let me double check comment 7 if I could.
Sure.
There's just too much, now there's a lot of paperwork floating around.
You're not overriding 3 through 7?
According to Mr. Carver.
So, I'll put it this way. We don't have a problem with comment 7 to the extent that we don't believe that certification is applicable, but we don't have a substantive objection to comment 7. We don't have a procedural objection to comment 7 if it's substantively accurate. We don't believe it's substantively accurate, therefore we're asking for it to be overridden as a matter of caution insofar as there are a number of lots, streets that were taken out of the FEMA designation as a result of the Pascack Brook improvement. I think you're familiar with that, council, and this is among them.
But I don't know for sure whether, and I can't opine to the ZBA whether or not
That's
it's
fine.
in the floodplain or
That's
not.
fine. It's not material.
Yeah.
Not material to us.
And if it is, then it is.
If it is, it is.
You comply.
If it is, it is. With respect to comments 1 and 2, this is a use that's permitted by right in the R1A zone. The utilization here is actually less dense than some of the surrounding 2-family homes, and certainly less dense than the Elm Street townhouse project in the town of Brownfield that it borders on. So to the extent that the GML is purporting to address issues of community character relating to impacts on the adjacent municipality, this will not have an impact as the adjacent municipality has density at a higher level than what's proposed here. With respect to any broader impacts, we've agreed to pay our sewage impact fee. Our parking is provided on site, 0 net runoff is achieved. With respect to comment 8, there was a typographical error in the map that was corrected, so we'd ask for the override. With respect to comment 10, there was a request to move the deck. We agree, we will move the deck, but because we've moved the deck, we would ask that the comment be overridden. With respect to comment 11, there was a question about whether this is an addition to the single-family detached dwelling, and it is. So we are happy to confirm that for the record as well. And then based on that, we would ask that the board reaffirm the variances previously granted while placing into the record the GML review, as well as my letter of February 19th.
So that would be the motion, to reaffirm the granting of the variances that were previously granted, and you're amending that approval decision by listing conditions or modifications, or comments rather, comments from the county GML letter, January 26, 2018. We're overriding disapproval, and I guess also overriding the comments, which I forgot which ones I'm circling. I can't remember.
You're circling the ones to which there's no objection.
Okay, so.
Happy to help.
Thank you. So those comment numbers that you are making conditions to the prior approval, that's your amendment to the prior approval, are numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 12, 14, and 15.
In all of these instances, council, we're complying with the overwhelming, with the bulk of the county's requests. So
Certainly.
all of these resolutions actually wind up having a lot more conditions as a result, and there's some items where we part company, we're asking for dispensation, but the net result of the GML review in almost all cases is that another 8 to 10 conditions are attaching to each one of those applications.
And you're overriding comments 1, 2, 8, 10, and 11, and 13, if you're so inclined. And again, if you're so inclined, you'd be basing on Mr. Corvin's correspondence of February 19, 2018, and his testimony given at this meeting. But you can obviously change it, modify it, make it your own, or not.
Are there any comments from the board, any motions? Any motion, any comments?
Make a motion to amend the previous approval, which will override the item number 1, 8, 10, 11, and 13. In the GML.
Okay, you're making a motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay.
Roll call, time, number 4.
I hear you.
Yes, whatever they said.
I'm tired. Okay. Chairman, Deputy Chairman,
Yes, to approve it, the whole state of the, all this approval that we discussed, all the overrides we discussed, as stated by my colleagues, is approved.
and,
Yes, to approve.
okay. And,
Yes, to approve.
and.
Yes to approve, motion carries. Now we'll go back to item number